Think Less, a practical guide to inner stillness and mental clarity. This is a video that I'm making to a high degree for myself. I have felt super burnt out recently. Apparently the definition of burnout, according to Harvard, is having worked really hard and not seen a whole lot of success. And if you know anything about the entrepreneurial journey, this is super common. And so while partially I'm making this video for you guys and, sharing with you the details of what's worked for me in the past, I'm also making it for myself as a reminder for what works and what's most important. In this video, I'm going to share with you two specific processes that you need to have as a part of your consistent daily routine. Now, obviously you can iterate on these things, you can make them as personalized as possible, and I highly encourage you to do that. But I found that from the people that I know that have had the most success with simplifying their processes, with simplifying their day, and by most success I mean the people that I know that are the wealthiest, that have the most successful relationships, that are the most in shape. They've really simplified their lives quite a lot, and they've used these two specific methods whether they realize it or not. I want to start out by sharing a story of one of my best friends, Scott. He's one of these people that has generated a huge amount of success in his creative endeavors, ultimately turning a creative project into an income generating source. And I think in 2024, this is really the dream for most people, right? It's to live this nomadic lifestyle, be able to travel around, and really to make money doing what it is that you want, what you're really passionate about. And beyond that, be able to predictably experience peace and fulfillment in our relationships, in our fitness, in all kinds of areas where we're looking for purpose. This is something that Scott has been able to do. And myself to a large degree, but we're talking about Scott right now. Scott is a person who has hyper simplified his processes, his boundaries, what he accepts from the world, where a lot of people might look at the way that he lives, his relationships, his work ethic, and you might say, well, it isolates him from a lot of opportunities, it isolates him from a lot of life. The outcomes that it generates, right, the success is consistent, it is predictable. When it comes to relationships, Scott doesn't really ruminate over exes. He doesn't scorn the ex, he doesn't demean the ex in his mind. He doesn't sit around and talk about how much of a piece of shit they are. He lets them go and moves on, and this is whether the relationship was really positive and one that he's clearly pretty disappointed that ended, or it's one that he was mistreated, abused. He has strict boundaries around those people. He's not letting them back in. He's not talking to them consistently, kind of begging for them to come back. And at the same time, he's not taking a proverbial shit all over them in his mind. He's just letting them go and allowing himself to move on and grow from the experience. By the same token, he has shown up and made multiple YouTube videos every single day for the last few years, which has ultimately grown his channel significantly. Now, if you were to meet Scott and you were to, sit down with me, you would think, man, these guys are so incredibly different. Our ideas, our beliefs, and there are a lot of things that we disagree on. There are a lot of points of conflict in our relationship based on these differences because of the importance that he places on his boundaries, on his projects, the things that are the most important to him. The vast majority of people live in this overstimulated cycle. They have a goal, maybe they set out to take some degree of action on that goal, but then the feedback that the world gives them is negative, and so they give up. They fall off the bandwagon. Scott and I might have different projects, we might have different goals, but it's for this reason that I value our relationship so much. I learn so much from this dude, and I hope he would say the same about me, but this ability to be singularly focused, to hyper value his personal energy, his boundaries, this is an attribute of his that has made him one of the best teachers in my personal life. And keep in mind, this dude is not super rich yet. This dude doesn't have millions and millions of subscribers yet. But I say yet because I know for a fact that these will be manifestations that he creates in his life based on these boundaries, based on this perception that he has of the world. Like I said, right now I am experiencing a pretty significant degree of burnout. And you might think, well, dude, aren't you living in Costa Rica right now? And yes, I am going to the pool multiple times a day. There is a beautiful valley scene behind me right, out the back door of where I'm living. The beach is 5 minutes away. We're going surfing. It's wonderful. It is magnificent. But a big part of the reason that I'm here is because of that burnout. I know that sometimes things need to shift, and when you don't shift, nothing else is going to shift with you. And I'm using this time to come back to some of the most basic habits that I know generate success for me, or have generated success for me in the past. Two specific processes of the hyper successful. Number one, they are constantly on a mental diet. They hyperguard their time, they hyperguard their energy. They know what information they're willing to accept and what information they are not willing to accept. Same thing goes with people, with relationships, like I said. It's often said that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. And because of this, you need to place a high degree of awareness on who these people are. What character values do they have? What are they actually adding to your life? And I'm not trying to say that every relationship needs to be transactional, because there absolutely is a lot to be said for unconditional love. But at the end of the day, the time that you have is finite. The energy that you have is finite. And the people in your life, especially your most immediate relationships, are going to play the largest role into this for you. If you are used to victimizing yourself, a mental diet is going to be one of the most difficult things for you to wrap your head around. The idea that you have to think specific things, that you cannot think specific things. Most people do not believe that their mind is at all under their control. And to a large degree, this is true for most of us. We don't have very much control over our minds, over our thoughts. And then when we start trying to exercise control over those thoughts, we see just how difficult difficult it really is. I don't know where the concept of Hanuman or monkey mind came from, but the monkey mind is the idea that your mind is constantly bouncing around without your control. Once we start to dictate what it is that we want to think about, we realize just how difficult it really is. But really, this is one of the most valuable practices any of us can invest our energy into. You start by just being aware, right? Being aware of what your thoughts are in conjunction with what you know you want them to be. I should have prefaced this section with the first step, which is know what you want. Know exactly what you want your mind to look like, to feel like. What kinds of thoughts do you want to be having? What kinds of thoughts do you not want to be having? And then as you become aware, just start gently moving your mind in a different direction, but you need to hold yourself accountable. There are no breaks. There can be no cheat days. The thing is, just like any other set of habits, this is something that we are working on for life. And so in every single moment, we are monitoring our thoughts. Am I empowered right now? Am I disempowered right now? This is where the second step comes into play, which is moments of clarity. Obviously, we want to be practicing the mental diet all day, every single day. But one of the things that can be most helpful is entering a space that is distraction-free. When we use processes like meditation or journaling to get really clear on what we want the outcome to be for ourselves without any distractions around us, it's going to be just a little bit easier to execute on this ideal state of mind. So super simple stuff, you guys. Only 3 steps, maybe 3.5 steps, right? Know exactly what you want. Number 1, know exactly what you don't want, right? You need to know exactly what kind of life that you want to create, exactly what that mindset is, right? The feelings, the thoughts that come, and being really specific about what those are, and then really specific about that anti-vision, right? Knowing exactly what your life is going to look like if you don't make the shifts that you really need to make. And then getting really committed to that mental diet, really making sure that you're setting strong boundaries. You're not allowing negative information. You're not allowing yourself to ruminate on negative information. And again, I know that this is difficult. I know that this is a massive shift, but that's where that final step of setting those specific times to practice come in, right? Setting those specific times to journal, specific times to meditate. And then you have that space to really dictate who it is that you want to be. And that becomes something that sort of snowballs throughout the rest of your life. So that's it, my friends. Super simple video. Just remember, long-term shifts, right? That real deep sense of fulfillment comes with practice. This is stuff that requires you to put the effort into, but it is one of the most beneficial practices I've ever invested into. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you have any questions. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that little notification bell so you know when my videos come out, and peace. Namaste. I'll see y'all later.